As we take our first seat today, I'm actually going to start in butterfly, and I invite you to do the same if that feels okay to your hips. If you woke up with pretty tight hips or you live with tight hips, maybe cross-legged is going to feel a little bit better, but just find a place where you can feel that external rotation. That's what we're going to be playing with a lot today. When you find your seat, close your eyes, breathe your breath. So just taking time to let breath meet body and to let mind observe breath meeting body. And that's really all we have to do to come into any moment is breathe and observe the breathing. That's really that simple. In any moment that we observe our breath, we are present, we're in our bodies, we're temporarily out of the busyness of our minds, and we're watching this miracle of our life unfold in present time. So I invite you to take in a very deep sip of air all the way to the top. Just breathe in as much as you possibly can. And when you can't hold your breath any longer, let your mouth open and sigh with a long exhale. Do that a few more times. Breathe into your fullest capacity. And let the exhale be long and slow and audible. That exhale is just like a release valve, that letting go. We made it here. We have arrived. It takes a lot to set aside the time for yourself, negotiation with yourself, and maybe even with others to allow you to be here. Keep taking these long breaths in as you sigh out. So I'm going to kick us off with a poem by Danna Faulds called Whatever Doesn't Serve. What weight can you put down right now? Willingly relinquishing the pointed quills of guilt or judgment. What burden of the heart can lift? What dark corner can be lit? The candle flickering at first and then burning bright. With the next breath, let it go. That old story you've told yourself 1,000,000 times. Whatever doesn't serve you on this path of truth, leave it behind. Offer this one gift, the simple sacrifice that in the giving sets you free to fully live. What weight can you put down right now? Let's take our hands onto the insides of our knees in this butterfly pose and put a little bit of pressure there. Never so much pressure that it feels like pain, anything sharp or super uncomfortable, but just pressure. And from that pressure, sit a little taller, stick your chest forward. And start to breathe into the first look at this discomfort we're going to explore in our hips today. And then hands come to the outsides of the knees and then press down into your hands with the strength of your legs. Notice the difference. Same action. One with your hands pressing down, the other with your muscles doing the pulling down. So let's try that again. Hands on the knees, press, a little more of a passive stretch. And then hands on the outsides of the knees, an active stretch. Probably feel that in the glutes and the outer hips a bit more. Let's close the knees together. If you're sitting on a block or a cushion, go ahead and remove that. And then taking the feet wide, we'll start with windshield wipers. Dipping one knee in and the other out. So a little anatomy for us today. Our hips are ball and socket joints. The top of the femur literally has a ball that plugs into the hip socket, which is called the acetabulum. And the hip allows for great range of movement. So we can do all the things, right? So right now we're doing internal rotation with one hip and external with the other. And just notice the difference in your two hips as you move in and out of these two shapes or ways of being in your hips. And then we'll come back to center, flip around to tabletop. And let's explore some more hip movement. So squeezing the knee toward the chin, exhale, this is hip flexion. And then reaching the leg behind you, take a deep breath in, hip extension. Exhale, flexion, inhale, extension. And you can straighten or bend that leg behind you, just warming up the hip in this forward and back motion. And then with knees side by side, take that same leg out and back in. Abduction, adduction. And just notice how that has shifted, which muscles are working, which are stretching. And then we're gonna make big hip circles. You can go in either direction. We'll do both. This is circumduction, which is all the actions combined. And that's what we're really gonna play with today, is this range of motion of our hips. Go the other way. That hip should be getting nice and warm and awake. And then settle that knee beside the other. Press back for a moment to child's pose. Turn your palms up and just relax your hands for a moment. Breathe into your rib cage, that full capacity breath, and sigh. What weight can you set down? Let's return to tabletop and we'll switch sides. So hip flexion, just changing to the other knee. Exhale, and then inhale, reach back, hip extension. Moving with your breath and just noticing the muscles doing the work and the muscles being stretched. The hips are an amazing place. This is the area of our sacral chakra. That's our center of creativity. Its sign is water. So this is the part of us that allows flow, ease of movement, grace, graceful movement. So knees side by side, let's do some out and in, abduction, adduction. Waking up. And then starting to circle the hips, circumduction. And it might be interesting for you to notice if there's any part of this circle that you're not able to get to, or that just feels kind of restrictive. Switch directions. And release. Come back again, child's pose. Turn the palms, open and close your hands. Shift your hips from side to side. And feel what's happening now up into your low back. Coming again into a downward facing dog. Pedal the heels. So now the attention starts to move down the back of the legs. hamstrings, calves, ankles, heels. So we'll start to warm up a little bit more here, shifting forward into plank pose, hip flexion, exhale. Hip extension, inhale, leg goes up. Exhale, forward. Inhale, lift. We'll just do 3 of each. And then coming into plank pose on one leg, abduction, adduction. Back to that 3-legged dog, bend the knee, circle the hip. Just go 3 times in each direction. Come down to your knees. Back to child's pose. Give your wrists a break before we switch sides. Just noticing when your mind wanders. Breath meets body, and the mind observes the breath meeting the body. Present moment. Let's come back to downward facing dog. And shifting forward into plank pose, other knee, exhale, hip flexion. Inhale, hip extension. And we come forward into plank, take the leg out and in, abduction, adduction. I know you're very excited about your anatomy lesson today. Come up, bend the knee, circle. Circumduction 3 times each way. Who's getting warm already? Hips are like a little toaster oven. All right, let's bring the feet forward. We'll come off of the hands. Feet a little wider than hips distance apart. Turn your palms up, fingers in, come into gorilla pose. And this is just a really nice little wrist massage after being on our hands that long. Knees are bent and the toes just knead into the inner wrist. And shift your weight. Let your head hang down. Oh, big full breaths. And then release your hands. Let's bend and straighten the knees a few times, just starting to feel those knee joints come online. And then press to a flat back, sweep the arms, extended mountain. And bring your hands to your heart. Do that again, sweep up, deep breath in, fill up to your full capacity. Exhale out, one more time, reach up. Or just back to heart. Standing here in mountain pose, we're going to play with those same hip actions. So on the inhale, let's start with our left leg, knee hip flexion. And as we come into hip extension, just lean forward slightly. A little bit of balance. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension, and switch sides. Come to mountain, find your left foot underneath you, pick up the right, hip flexion, hip extension. Moving slowly, eyes on one point. And then feet side by side. From mountain pose, get your feet a little bit closer together. And abduction, adduction, abduction, adduction. You can add the arms if you like. Switch sides. Good. And then coming up onto the toes of one foot, just juicing the hip. Call this juicing the hip, and this is the external and internal. This is where we're really going to play today, in that external rotation. And then circle your knee. Pretty awesome what these hips can do, right? Reverse. And take it to the other side, juicing the hip, internal and external. A lot of awareness here. Your hips are like, what is happening? Circumduction, both directions. Good. Okay, so I think we've sufficiently warmed up the hip joint. Pause in mountain. Let's close our eyes, breathe deeply, and just notice. What do you notice in the front of your hips, the sides, the back, the pelvic floor, the inner thighs? Those complicated muscles that are weaved like a basket. Is there one area that feels like it's a little more awake? Is there an area that feels a little more dull? So let's continue movement. Hips are about movement and flow. So let's take the arms up, inhale to a little back bend. Exhale, hinge from the hips, hip flexion into your forward fold. Press to a half lift and step back, downward facing dog. Shifting forward into plank pose, knees or toes lower halfway down. Thank goodness it's not my birthday this week. Let's lower to the earth. Roll the shoulders onto your back, cobra. And press back, downward facing dog. Hip flexion, hip extension. We'll do 3 times on each side, just this action. And switch, shift forward plank pose, hip flexion, hip extension. A little bit of work today, but fun work. And then both feet down. Walking or hopping forward, come to a half lift. And exhale, forward fold. Rise high, extended mountain. Back bend, hands to heart. Beautiful. One more time, rise up. Bow low, make these movements exaggerated. Lift halfway, step back, downward facing dog. Take a vinyasa, knees or toes. If you're on your toes, lift to up dog. And then downward facing dog. Full breath, everybody. Shifting forward, plank pose, abduction, adduction, 3 times on each leg. You can feel your core holding. Press back. And walk your feet to your hands. Lift halfway. Big sigh, forward fold. Knees are bent, rise up, arms go way back behind you, back bend, and hands to heart. Beautiful. All right, hands come onto the glutes. Let the hips press forward. So opening, we'll just pick up where we left off in Monday's class with those hip flexors opening. Shoulders back, chest open. Either stay here or interlace your hands and open up a little more across the front of your shoulders. So let the front of your body wake up, brighten, expand. And release, sweep up. Bow down. Okay, so if you have a block or two nearby, let's get those handy here at the front of the mat. We're gonna step our left foot back and drop the knee down to the earth. So this is the entry point. We're gonna be here for a while. So if you need some padding underneath that back knee, go ahead and fold your mat or grab a little towel. Let's start with our favorite movement here, which is just forward and back, hip flexion, hip extension. We give it some time to just give that hip flexor a chance to start to trust us. And let's come forward to our kneeling lunge. The hands are going to come inside the right foot. Let's be on our hands here for just a moment. The length of our arms. Let the knee stay straight up and down. So this is still a lot like a kneeling lunge. Kind of come on an angle so you can see. Just see what's there. And then let's start to juice the hip here, external and internal rotation. Just listening. If you ever hit a hard edge, you're going to make your movement softer and smaller. And then we'll take that knee out to the side. So lizard pose could be knee up or knee out. There are two different variations. You can kind of decide what feels best for your hip. I'm going to actually do both today. So starting with the knee out, you can stay on your hands or you can drop down to one elbow. And if that feels good to you, you could come down on two elbows. I'm using two blocks. You can also go to the floor. So here with this knee in external rotation, everyone take some really deep breaths. What weight can you put down right now? What are you holding that is weighing you down? And you might find that somewhere in this vicinity, that weight, that burden, that story, that baggage. See if there's some way to just set it aside, even for one breath. In this deepest position of lizard, start, if you haven't already, start to bring your knee back up. So trying to bring that inner knee toward the shoulder and use the muscles of your legs to hug that knee in. Like you're really trying to touch your shoulder with your knee. There's a lot of strength there. We're going to keep that knee up. Let's press to hands. You can set your blocks aside. Tucking our back toes, lift that knee. Oh my goodness. Woo. Press up. That's a lot, isn't it? Let's reach the hands high. Take a nice deep breath in, and then we're just going to flow it out. So exhale, fold over your leg, arms reach back. Inhale, lift. Exhale, back. Just move. You can make your breath loud. You're extending and you're flexing. Awesome. One more time, everybody. Fly high, fly low. Let the fingertips come to the floor. Back leg lifts, bend the knee, and we're just going to circle that knee, the one that was behind us. Circumduction. Let's go the opposite way. And come to forward fold. Feel your legs here, right and left. Come halfway, all the way up. And hands to heart. And feel both legs here, right and left. I feel like I'm standing crooked. All right, one leg is longer. Let's bring the hands onto the hips, press the hips forward, shoulders back. Either stay here or interlace your hands, open up the front of the body. Take some deep breaths here, my friends. And back to center, arms high, hinge forward, bow low. Long exhale. Stepping now the right foot back and dropping the knee. So now you know the pattern, you know the recipe. Get whatever you need, pad up under that knee, find your blocks. And let's begin forward and back action. Breath meets body, and the mind observes the breath as it meets the body. Just close your eyes and watch yourself breathe as you move. Coming forward and holding our kneeling lunge, both hands come to the inside of our left foot. Pausing here to let gravity and breath do their work. Noticing the sensations you feel around your hips. Let's start to juice this hip. The knee goes out and in. Finding a soft edge of discomfort, never a hard edge of pain. Just the movement that makes you a little bit curious about the edge. That's perfect. And we're going to let the knee stay out to the side. Just let the weight of that leg pull down. You can stay on your hands or drop to a block or two. And of course, all the way to the floor if your hips allow that. And then just close your eyes here and breathe into your full capacity. Fill up with breath even more than you normally do. And let breath go with a sigh. What weight can you put down? How can you leave your mat a little lighter today? Just pull one heavy stone out of your backpack. Set it down. It's not yours to carry. And then staying down as low as you can, bring that knee up. The first time I did this, I noticed that one of my right leg comes in so much more easily than my left leg. And I had never noticed that imbalance in my body. So this really brought to light to me why it's so much harder for me to twist on the left side and many of the poses. So see if you notice something similar in your body, that one side is different. Really trying to squeeze that knee toward your arm, lots of effort. And then we'll press to our hands, we'll remove our props. Oh my goodness, knee stacked over the ankle, let's tuck the toes, lift our knee, and we'll come up to high lunge. Ooh. I'm super curious if you make noises when you're alone in your room too. Flowing with breath. And it's okay to make noise during yoga, especially when you're home alone. Make noise. Sigh it out. Set something down. One more time, fly high and low, And then we'll set our fingertips on the floor, lift the back leg, bend the knee, and take some leg circles here. Circumduction. Go in both directions. And release to forward fold. Check in. Do you notice symmetry or asymmetry? Let's lift halfway and we'll sweep the arms high. Find that gentle back bend, and then hands come to the low back, heart presses forward, little bigger back bend, and either stay here or interlace your hands for an even bigger back bend. Hips are forward, heart is open. Breath is full. Let's release. Sweep the arms high, bow low. Inhale to a half lift and step back downward facing dog. And let's take a vinyasa here, knees or toes. Drawing the hips toward the ceiling. Right leg comes up, bend the knee, open up through the hip. Maybe circle the ankle. Square the hips and do a few more hip circles here. And then with that leg nice and high, shift forward, step to the top of the mat. And once again, we'll drop that knee. All right, so we're gonna move into a twist. Got a few options here. One is to bring your left hand to a block. I'm gonna choose that one today. So first option is to lift your chest and just press here into an easy twist with the hand on the thigh. That's a nice entry point for twist. So we could either stay right there or increase the twist by bringing the hand toward the back wall, or maybe even onto the low back. And we could move on from there by lifting that back foot. And for some of us, that might mean taking hold of that foot or reaching toward it. This is called cat grabs its tail. So we've got those hips plenty warmed up. Hopefully this feels okay to your body. If not, back off a little, find something softer. And release. Bring the arm all the way up and over. Tuck the back toes. Let's release the block, downward facing dog. And you can take a vinyasa or just stay here, your choice. Feel your hips. And we'll raise that left leg up, bend the knee, open up through the hip. And then coming back to center, hip circles. Do a few in each direction. And then shifting forward, the left foot comes to the top of the mat. We'll drop the knee. So twisting on the second side. Right hand down or on your block. Let's start by lifting up, hand to thigh, chest opening. That just could be a really nice place to stay, especially if you have any lower back issues. This upper body twist might be your best friend today. You could reach a hand back or place it on your low back a little bit more. Option to lift the back knee, not knee, foot. And reach toward the foot or grab a hold. So lots of options along the way. Primary goal is a twist. How are your hips? What are you holding here? Is there anything you can set aside? Any weight you can set down? And release. Tuck the back toes. Hands to the mat. Downward facing dog. And I'm just going to pump the heels. I'm going to pump the knees. I'm going to really almost like you're just walking. And you can do this or take a vinyasa or both. And then settle into a very deep downward facing dog. Your heels reach to the earth. Your hips reach to the sky. Your fingers crawl forward. Really stretch your body in all directions. And then let's raise that right leg high and step it forward. All right, it's Warrior Wednesday. Let's do some warriors. Drop the back heel, reach high. And as you do, straighten that front leg. We've had it bent for a while. And then dip back down into your warrior. Straighten the front leg and bend it. And straighten it. And as we bend the knee, let's open into Warrior Two. So this is the action we've been working on, that external rotation. So we're going to stay here for a few breaths. Just looking over the right hand, shoulders relaxed. Turning both palms up. Inhale, straighten that right leg. Exhale, palms down, Warrior Two. Go as deep as your hip will allow. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, lower. Stay right here. Turn the palm and reverse your warrior. Fingers high. And then in slow motion, straighten the front leg once again. Fingers lift up, legs straighten. Maybe take that back hand off your leg, lift up and out. Lift, lift, lift. And windmill, hands to the floor. Downward facing dog. Pedal out the heels like you're jogging. And then stillness, heels down, hips high. The front of the palm pressing into the mat and the hips just really stretching up away from hands and feet. Let's raise our left leg. And then shifting forward, step the foot, drop the heel, come on up, Warrior One. And then straighten that left leg, lift, lift, lift. Exhale back into your Warrior One. Inhale, straighten. Good, exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. And as we bend, we peel open, Warrior Two. With your hip work that we've done so far, you should feel that you can get a little deeper in your warrior, a little more space there. Let's look over the left hand, shoulders relaxed. And turning both palms. Inhale, lift the hands, straighten the leg. Exhale, nice deep Warrior Two. Holding Warrior Two, turn the left palm, reverse warrior. Fingers are going to reach for the ceiling and then slow motion, straighten the left leg. Get up and out, right? Release the back hand and really lengthen. So much space in your body. So much ease and lightness, having set something down. And then bend that knee, windmill the hands to the earth, downward facing dog. Again, just bouncing through the heels, kind of shaking it off, or take a vinyasa. All right, you probably knew this was coming. Let's raise the right leg up and shift into pigeon. Right knee, right wrist. With all that preparation, I hope your hip's really happy to be here. The knee gets to choose where the foot goes. And if you'd like, you can put a little padding under your hip and stay upright or lower down, your choice. Once you arrive at where you're going to be, I invite you to close your eyes. Breath meets body. Mind observes breath and body. You're still breathing to your full capacity. Let the breath stretch into the places. The tender places where the heavy baggage has been stored. Breath is like a refreshing breeze coming into a dark, dusty room, sweeping out the old, the finished, the unnecessary. Let's slowly rise up. You're welcome to take whatever transition you like from right to left. I like to tuck my back toes and just sweep that leg up and shake it out. Move the hip, move the ankle, move the knee. Just put blood flow back into the lower extremity. And when you're ready, the left leg comes through. You can open your hip if you want, and then just draw the knee to the wrist, taking your time to find the props that support you best. And easing your way in on the second side, knowing that it might be different. It most likely is. What weight can you put down now? Willingly relinquishing the pointed quills of guilt or judgment. What burden of the heart can lift? What dark corner can be lit? The candle flickering at first, then burning bright. With the next breath, let it go. That old story you've told yourself 1,000,000 times. Whatever doesn't serve you on this path of truth, leave it behind. Offer this one gift, the simple sacrifice that in the giving sets you free to fully live. What weight can you put down now? So one more deep, slow breath. coming out of this pose in the way that you like. Again, I like to bend the knee and shake out the leg. You can take any other way out that you appreciate. And then let's go ahead and drop our knees to the ground. We'll bring ourselves around again to a seat, and we'll find that butterfly position that we started in. So if you want to put your hips up on your cushion or your block, you can. My hips are feeling a lot more open now, so I'm comfortable sitting down on my sits bones. Let's grab the ankles and we're just going to fly. We're just going to bounce our wings. Done a lot of work here today in this region of the body. So then pausing that bounce, hold on to the ankles, lean forward and very gently press with your elbows. So you're lifting up out of the low back, pulling your chest forward as you create space around your hips. You can come a little higher up the shin if you need to get the best leverage, but try to keep your spine straight. Find that full capacity breath. Sigh on the exhale. On the next breath out, slide your feet out a little farther, scoop your hands underneath your ankles, and we're going to come into a version of tortoise. So the palms touch the top of the feet, the head drops down, chin to chest, and the legs are just creating some weight on the arms. This can be a little bit stressful to a lower back, so if you find tension in your low back, release your hands and just fold forward in a more gentle way without the weight. Just let breath move into the back of your body. Relax your jaw, your face, your forehead. And then release this position. Let's come down onto our backs. As we come to the back, let's bring the right knee into the chest. Let the left leg fall flat. And then this right knee is going to come out the way we've been working the whole time, this external rotation. So either stay here with your hand on your knee or grab the outside of your foot so it's half happy baby. You might move around a little bit there, some more exploration inside of your hip. But there's some pressure. We're just kind of pulling down into that space. Always asking permission, right? Instead of forcing the body into positions, we just ask. We knock softly. And then bending the left knee, take a figure four, pull the left leg in, push the right knee away. Little side to side action. And then let the right leg come all the way down to the floor. Bounce your calf on the floor a few times and squeeze the left knee in. And then it comes out to the side, it comes out to the outer ribs. And either stay there or find half happy baby. A little bit of movement, a little bit of joy, a little bit of ease. Light pressure in that hip, that's by design. And then bending the right knee, let's take that figure four. The right leg comes in, the left leg, just push away a little bit. Easy peasy. And then lowering the right foot to the floor and then the left. Let's bring the soles of the feet together. Once again, this external rotation. This is called Supta Baddha Konasana. I'm going to invite you to rest here today in Shavasana. So if that doesn't feel great to you, you could try blocks under the knees to support, or traditional Shavasana. I just want us to take one more pass at a hip opener while we rest. Just passive, gentle gravity. You can take your hands wherever you like. Close your eyes. And now instead of a full capacity breath, try on a halfway breath. Kind of feels like you're just breathing in halfway and out. I lay myself down on the welcoming ground, the earth's spine becoming mine. Peace seeps into heavy limbs and slows my heartbeat to the pace of nature. I take refuge in the quiet and let my burdens go one by one until the earth and I both float in the same vast and holy silence. Taking a couple more of these half capacity breaths, just small sips of air in and out. And then let's just begin to find our way to a seat, moving slowly, moving gently, not disturbing this calm that we've created. Let's end with a Lakshmi mudra. Lakshmi is the goddess of abundance. Her desire is that we all live in abundance of wealth, abundance of time, abundance of energy, abundance of community, abundance of love. So we're just going to take our right hand up, and this is a gesture of protection. The gesture of fearlessness. It's not like stop in the name of love. It's very gentle and soft, but I'm protected and I'm fearless. And then the left hand turns down, and the same softness in the left hand, a release. So you can almost visualize water dripping off your fingers. Like the teaching is that letting go is that easy. You don't have to flick it off or throw it away. It's just, I'm safe, I'm protected, and I'm letting go of a burden that is no longer mine to hold. Take another one of those full capacity breaths in and sigh it out. And then gently bring these two hands and gestures together. Protection and release at our heart center. Maybe leave today being a little more fearless, a little more ready to set something down that's been heavy, a burden. Thank you all for opening your hips and your hearts. Have a lovely day. Namaste.